Good morning once again. Welcome to My Conversation. Come on, you guys. We've got our big studio audience once again. Happy holidays. I'm Jason Hurst of Soft Rock 98.9. Always a pleasure to be with you on Sundays for this TV show. And once again, our show sponsor is Michael Bogart from Aspect Ministries. How you doing, Michael?
Great, Jason.
Oh, so what
how's your Christmas going so far?
So far, so good. Enjoying the holidays, love the Christmas spirit. Everyone's in a good mood.
And I hear you're playing Christmas music on your radio show.
On Soft Rock 98.9.
There you go.
All the way through Christmas Day.
All right.
Do you listen?
I do, but do you get tired of it sometimes?
A little bit every now and then.
Towards the end, maybe.
Yeah, but I still like the season for sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
So what brings you by today?
Well, you know, last week, if you remember, we talked about the problem, what caused the whole issue of God to become human flesh. And of course, I'm talking from a Christian perspective. But we talked about sin and, you know, the fact we couldn't save ourselves and, and all of that. So today I wanted to focus on the actual incarnation, you know, the Christian doctrine that God, the eternal God, the Creator, somehow, mysteriously, in a way that only He knew how, took upon Himself real human nature, became, I guess you'd say, an embryo in Mary's womb, and then and then was born, and lived as a human being, and then eventually redeemed us from our sins.
I don't know how He did it. It's kind of mind blowing, right?
Well, yeah. I mean, there's no possible way that we could understand how that happened. But the good news that the Bible proclaims is that God did that.
Cool.
Yeah.
What was the purpose of it?
Well, the purpose was to save ourselves, from our own mess that we make. And last week, of course, we talked about how we can blame, our bad behavior on different circumstances, and sometimes that's right, we can. But why? How do you explain why, when we have everything going for us, we still do wrong sometimes?
That's true, for sure.
And so that's the essence of why we're really helpless, and we need God to save us. So I was just thinking about that. I was thinking about how the angel, the story about how the angel appeared to Mary and announced to her that, would she be, in a sense, I guess he was asking her, would you be willing to allow God to incarnate His Son?
That's a lot of pressure.
Yeah, and of course she said, I'm the servant of the Lord. Bless her heart, she said that. But you think about what happened in Mary's life after that. Even in the Gospels later, when Jesus is an adult, there are occasions when people throw it back in His face that His birth was in some question, that who was His father was in some doubt, because apparently Mary was known for being pregnant before she was brought together with her husband. And that must have been something very difficult to endure. In a way, it's kind of good for us because it corroborates what we're told. Right.
Was Mary perfect?
No, well, I don't think she was, no. Not at all. But the fact that she and Jesus had to suffer this, I guess you'd say, humiliation almost all of their lives for our sake is really
we need
something.
a Savior for sure.
Absolutely. And then what it would be like for God to be limited like we are. I mean, you and I don't know anything other than limitation.
Right.
We can't be at more than one place at a time, and we don't have unlimited knowledge, and we get sick and, all these kinds of things. And yet for God, who's unlimited, to take on the kinds of limitations that we have, that's an unspeakable sacrifice.
It feels like we're born in a zoo, but there's so much more out there, outside the walls.
Yeah. And I think He came to open the doors.
For sure.
So that we can experience everything He wanted for us when He created the human race.
It's the reason for the season, right?
Yeah. It should be a time of incredible hope. And I realize that holidays sometimes are kind of a bummer for some people if their life's not going well or if they've lost a loved one, and I have a lot of sympathy for that. But for most of us, the holidays should be an incredibly joyous and kind of renewing time in our lives.
Exactly.
And so I'm encouraging people to make that so this year in their experience.
And how do they do that to find God?
Well, God is this close. I mean, if you want to come back to God, God will take you back in a heartbeat. The prodigal son story is all about that. I mean, you can do terrible things, and if you decide somewhere down deep inside you want to change and come back, God will take you back just like that.
How many times?
I assume unlimited time.
It seems like the more we're forgiven, the more we don't want to screw up and disappoint Him.
Well, yeah, and there does need to be a life change, but even He takes care of that because He puts His Holy Spirit inside of us.
That's so awesome.
To give us new life, yeah.
Very inspiring man here.
Well, I don't know. I think the message is inspiring.
How do you deal with somebody asking you about your mistakes? Do you admit that?
Of course.
Yeah?
Honesty is always best.
Of course.
You don't want to dwell on things that are dealt with in the past, but you certainly don't want to sweep things under the carpet that you are guilty of and that you need to deal with.
It's kind of part of that, admitting to others that you need help in certain areas.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I've been married all these years, and I found that in marriage, the best policy is honesty. You better just talk about it and deal with it. If you sweep it under the carpet, it's only going to come back to bite you later.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think the same is true with God.
Absolutely. So you got some DVDs you want to talk about?
Well, yeah, and for the month of December, I've got 5 DVDs. I've got one on the Bible, one on Islam, Mormonism, Jehovah's Witness, and the New Age. And I've got accompanying books and audio CDs to go with those. But for the month of December, we'd like to make a free offer available to people. I'm very excited about offering it. It's a free streaming video of my 45-minute Bible.
That's so cool.
Yeah, so all you got to do is go to aspectministries.com and sign up for the free offer, and you will get to see the
Online,
Bible.
can people ask you questions over there on your site?
There is a Contact Us tab, I guess, on the website, and so they could certainly email me through that, yeah.
I want to see you speak in person, too, out somewhere.
Oh, well, you know what? The last day of this month, the 31st of December, Yosemite Lakes Community Church, I will be speaking.
Oh, YLP, I know that up there.
Come on up and see us.
The pastor's great, too.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's fun.
Yeah.
All right.
So come on up, I'm the guest speaker.
Michael Bogart, thanks again for stopping on
All
by.
right. See ya.
Aspect Ministries, you're awesome. Merry Christmas, too.
Merry Christmas, Jason.
Stick around, we'll be back.
This segment of My Conversation is brought to you by Aspect Ministries, effective 21st century faith.